Now, coming right up on Moneyline, the Perot-Gore debate is over. We'll have the blow-by-blow for you. A look at the wholesale prices and Wall Street's hottest news stock. Next on Moneyline, please join us.
This has been a presentation of CNN Sports.
Moneyline is next here on CNN. For an update on the day's top stories, you can turn to Headline News. Check local listings for channel number.
This weekend, when you're working outside, be careful where you dig. Realize that it may affect the inside of your home as well. Careless digging can interrupt the flow of gas, water, electricity, and your cable TV. Lines cut accidentally are costly to repair and may disrupt your cable service. So plan ahead. Fully trained technicians are ready to assist you in marking out sites. So please, before you dig, call 1-800-272-1000.
At Window Wizards, we'll beat any advertised price, and that brings people in. But it's our service that keeps them coming back. Our trained, knowledgeable sales experts, our ability to make special size and shape windows in our own shop, and our customer service department. Plus, our fast delivery from our huge warehouse inventory. So shop the Window Wizard Anderson Window Center near you.
Philadelphia, Bristol, Warminster, Upper Darby, Malvern, and Quakertown, PA. Williamstown, Toms River, and Pleasantville, New Jersey.
This is CNN. This is a presentation of CNN Business News.
From the world's financial capital, New York City, this is Moneyline with Lou Dobbs.
Good evening. After days of hype and hyperbole, tonight Vice President Al Gore and Ross Perot debated the North American Free Trade Agreement. The White House hoping the debate on CNN's Larry King Live would nail down NAFTA votes in the House, votes they desperately need. They said facts would win out over fear. Irv Chapman has the post-debate report from Washington.
It was a testy 90 minutes as Gore tore into Perot's credibility, recalling his forecast that 40,000 Americans would die in Kuwait.
You were wrong about that. You said on Larry King just before the election that after Election Day, there would be 100 banks that would fail, costing the taxpayers $100 billion. You were wrong about that.
Gore said Perot changed his pro-NAFTA position when he ran for president, adding that Perot's family company is profiting from the Mexico trade.
This dog just didn't hunt. Now, today they don't have the votes in the House of Representatives. We're in the third quarter. They can get them because they're buying them big time with your tax money.
Corporate executives lined up behind NAFTA with the expectation of increasing business with Mexico as they did with Canada.
So the shipments are starting from the United States at almost a 2-to-1 basis over shipments coming down from Canada. I think the same thing will happen in Mexico. We'll be sending more down there than we get back.
The makers of 80 familiar grocery products packed gift baskets, 535 of them, for delivery to every member of Congress.
Thank you.
All of these products already exported to Mexico. The treaty would eliminate 20% customs duties.
If you look at Capitan Crunch, for example, which is in Spanish, in Mexico, buying American products is a sign that you are becoming more prosperous. It's a positive thing to do.
But an organization of family companies dissented from the corporate chorus.
If they need to move their companies to Mexico because some of their competitors do, or the people they supply do, these communities in which they exist are going to be severely impacted.
As the vote grows closer, members of Congress keep coming forth to choose sides. Those who are in favor of the treaty are plainly in the greatest anguish. One of them said it was the hardest vote he had to decide on since the Persian Gulf War. Irv Chapman, CNN Business News, Washington.
The NAFTA debate is, of course, heating up, and the inflation debate has cooled down, at least for now. For weeks, signs of improving economic conditions pushed interest rates higher, bondholders fearing that stronger growth might mean stronger inflation. But a report on wholesale prices today helped allay some of those fears. The producer price index down 0.2% in the month of October. That is the fifth decline in 6 months. Take out food and energy categories, the index looked even better, down 0.5%.
Clearly, inflation's not quickly rising, nor is it likely to quickly rise from our more vigorous economic growth in the past quarter or two. I think that this really does take away a lot of fears about inflation.
And with the inflation notion losing favor, bond prices rallied and yields retreated. The Treasury's 30-year bond up 3/4 of a point in price, and the yield back down to 6.14%. But the buoyant bond market did not lift stocks. The Dow Jones Industrials giving back all of yesterday's gain and then some. The Dow closing at 3,640.07, losing almost 8 points on the day. In light of the upbeat inflation report, today's decline in stocks is somewhat ironic. Many investment pros counting on low inflation to keep stock prices high. Terry Keenan is here tonight to explain all of that for us. Terry?
Lou, even with stocks at record levels, most Wall Street firms continue to crank out bullish projections. And while third quarter earnings provided some encouragement, it's that low inflation that keeps Wall Street expectations rosy. Wall Street's most widely watched yardstick, price-earnings ratios, are higher than any time since before the 1987 stock market crash. But rather than setting off alarm bells, many of Wall Street's biggest firms, from Smith Barney Shearson to Goldman Sachs, are predicting prices have further to go.
We believe the market will go even higher.
The bulls point to the inverse relationship between inflation and stock prices, noting that whenever inflation is low, price-earnings multiples have comfortably moved above average levels, even above the 17 times earnings where the S&P 500 now trades.
When inflation and interest rates are low, investors are willing to pay more, i.e. PE ratios can rise higher. If you take a look at previous periods of moderate inflation, you typically see PE ratios of 18 or 20 times earnings, which in fact is somewhat higher than the current PE ratio.
According to Goldman Sachs projections, the market is undervalued by some 20%. If Goldman is right, the Dow could go to 4,300 even before reaching fair value. Market strategist Gail Dudak agrees.
In other words, the market has had a very conservative approach to valuation, staying slightly below average and really being kind of show me market. Show me the earnings and then I'll rally. This is not an overdone, overvalued market in my mind.
The problem is, while the models use future earnings projections, they use old inflation numbers. And as we saw last week's sell-off showed, all too well, when the market gets even a whiff of inflation, earnings can be discounted very quickly. Lou?
That's what makes markets. Terry, thanks. Coming up next on Moneyline, the chicken that devoured Wall Street. We'll be telling you all about that. We'll have all of the day's activity on Wall Street for you next on Moneyline. Stay with us.
Moneyline is brought to you by the Archer Daniels Midland Company, ADM, supermarket to the world, and by Charles Schwab and Company, helping investors help themselves.
The standard set by the federal government requires that a car with 2 airbags must help protect 2 passengers, ignoring the center seat passenger. The higher standard in the all-new DeVille by Cadillac, an air bank system which provides supplemental protection for not 1, not 2, but all 3 front seat passengers. The air bank system in the new V8-powered DeVille by Cadillac, creating a higher standard.
These are the tools of a broker. Online access to real-time quotes, news, and up-to-the-minute research. The information to make you street smart. Wall Street Smart.
Honey, we're home.
Right in your own home. With Street Smart, the new investment software for Windows from Charles Schwab. Street Smart lets you act as your own broker with access to the same type of information Wall Street traders use and the power to route your orders through to a trading floor. So you can buy and sell stocks, bonds, options, and mutual funds and save an extra 10% off Schwab's already low commissions. You just point, click, and invest. Click again to review your portfolio, chart price histories, analyze a Dow Jones report. At $59, Street Smart software may be your next best investment. To order, call Schwab at 1-800-442-5111 and become a Street Smart investor today. Charles Schwab. Helping investors help themselves.
A $1.8 billion deal in wireless communications. Motorola selling several radio licenses to Nextel Communications. That deal gives Nextel access to mobile radio networks in lucrative markets, including New England, several mid-Atlantic states, Texas, and California. In exchange, Motorola owns a fifth of Nextel. Kitty Pilgrim has been following the story. She's here tonight with a report for us. Kitty?
Lou, today's deal makes Nextel the largest player in the radio frequency communications industry, a position Nextel says assures its success in challenging cellular phone companies for customer loyalty.
Just below its logo, Nextel bills itself as the next generation of wireless communication. But in fact, its network would parallel cellular phone technology. The company has spent more than $1 billion in the last year to buy radio dispatch services, the kind used for taxi fleets. A nationwide network in 45 states that would work with a handheld instrument that works on digital wireless frequencies.
Today was the culmination of a lot of months of work. We've done 125 acquisitions since we started the company in 1987, but today's acquisition, which was the acquisition of all of Motorola's channels in 21 states, was by far the largest and the most important to Nextel.
Japan's Nippon Telegraph and Telephone is investing $75 million in Nextel to help link individual systems into a national network.
It's a very big task to bring them all together so they work together as an integrated system. And this is where NTT's specialty is going to come and play for us.
According to Nextel, all this will be available to consumers in the next 3 years. Motorola putting up $260 million in new financing to develop the system and will manufacture the equipment. The deal suggests some already formed in the cellular industry.
I think it provides a very meaningful alternative to the cellular industry that has been so kind to investors in the last few years.
The real issue is whether this network really can challenge cellular technology. But for today, Wall Street clearly applauded the deal. Motorola stock up 1 on the day, and Nextel rallying 1 1/4. Lou?
Kitty, thank you. Well, on Wall Street today, rallies for the small stocks, but big stocks sagged. The Dow Jones Industrial is giving back an early 21-point gain, closing the day at 3,640.07, a loss of 7.83 on volume of more than 276 million shares. Advancing issues did beat out decliners by a margin of about 4 to 3. The composite index gained 1/4 point, while the S&P 500 rose 0.12. The Dow Transport's down 1.71. The utilities, shorter interest, not strong today, down 2.04, despite a slight improvement in the bond market. The NASDAQ Composite Index with high techs were still rebounding, 769.84 at the close, a gain of 3.63. Volume there, heavy trading continued. 317 million shares almost, and the American Exchange Composite Index closed at 476.02, a loss of 0.58, volume more than 17.5 million shares. Tonight's Moneyline movers topped by 2 red-hot new issues. First, Boston Chicken, the fast food restaurant chain offering almost 2 million shares at $20 apiece. Demand sizzling. The closing price, $48.50 a share. That's up staggering $28.50 a share over the offering. The other big winner on its first day, Urban Outfitters, the home furnishing retailer, rallying $5.75 from its initial offering of $18 a share. Among the more established movers, Philip Morris up $1, arch rival RJR Nabisco boosting wholesale cigarette prices by 4 cents a pack. Electricom Automation sinking $2 a share. The high-speed printer maker warning of disappointing yearly profits. And SciMed Life Systems dropping more than $4 a share. That on concerns the medical device maker is losing market share. 2 retail giants topping our list of widely held. Walmart up 3/8, third-quarter profits there, up 18% to a record high. The Limited adding a half, its third-quarter profits edging 3% higher. Bankers Trust rallying $1. Interest-sensitive stocks strong today, benefiting from the decline in interest rates. Intel up $1. Semiconductor issues another bright spot in the market today, and Exxon down 1/8, closing at 63 7/8. Oil prices falling again today, off another 5 cents a barrel in New York trading, settling at $16.66 a barrel. That level the lowest since Iraq's invasion of Kuwait more than 3 years ago. John Defterios is here tonight and has the story for us. John?
Well, Lou, only 6 weeks ago, OPEC said they had a production deal that would boost prices. In just 2 weeks, the cartel meets again, and it may be forced to go back to the drawing board.
The mood on the trading floor is definitely working against OPEC. The prevailing view, there is plenty of crude being pumped. The weakness comes even though reports show the cartel is very close to its quota of 24.5 million barrels a day.
There is a psychological aspect right now. It could just as well have been that the market said OPEC is now adhering to its quota, and therefore we think that prices will rise.
But that's not the market's line, and the price drop has some in the group grasping for a new plan. OPEC heavyweight Iran is stepping out, calling for cuts. A top Iranian delegate tells CNN Business News that a cut of 500,000 barrels is a good target, which would take prices a little higher, perhaps $2 higher. That call may reopen wounds that were healed at the September meeting. In a phone interview, Venezuela's oil minister says he would counsel patience to see if the market can absorb the current production levels. Saudi Arabia is said to support that stand, and traders believe it will prevail for the time being.
There's a discipline on the production side, and it's compounded because secondary style production, whether it's from the North Sea or South America or whatever, or from the Far East, continues to rise.
North Sea production is up 700,000 barrels a day from last year, and more is coming next quarter. Meanwhile, the anemic growth in Europe and Japan is hurting demand.
Since OPEC has been abiding by its quota, some within the group want non-OPEC countries to trim production. But analysts say that is very unlikely. In fact, North Sea producer Norway said today that idea is, quote, Lou, not on.
Not on. A quaint way to say that. All right, John, thank you. Well, coming up next on Moneyline, we'll take a look at the Clinton health care numbers. My guest tonight says they could add up to health care rationing. Harvard economics professor Martin Feldstein. Next, stay with us.
One of the leading hotels of the world offers a choice of 12 specialty pillows. This may seem less than exciting, then again the whole point is to put you to sleep. The leading hotels of the world has accepted 270 hotels and the American Express card.
Among the things that qualified this leading hotel of the world was the laundry's meticulous use of starch and steam. When you take pride in your work, it shows. The leading hotels of the world has accepted 270 hotels and the American Express card.
Look what ADM research has cooked up. An all-vegetable patty that contains dietary fiber, is low in fat, and free of cholesterol. One that's made to meet the demands of vegetarians and other health-conscious consumers. It's the Midland Harvest brand Harvest Burger. And so far, it's made a big impression everywhere it's landed. ADM, supermarket to the world.
Charlie, back already? Yeah, I'm too mean to keep down. All right. Morning, Charlie.
Morning, Mr. Bradley.
Bob.
Bob.
You really had us scared, you know.
Yeah. Would you believe I missed this?
Yeah, I would.
Walsall rehabilitation programs for workers' compensation and group health lessen the pain for everyone.
What do you want out of life in the 90s? A healthier lifestyle?
A great wardrobe.
A chance to see the world.
And the best in entertainment.
The 90s are changing.
And so are we.
The new Living in the 90s premieres Monday, 11 Eastern on CNN.
Well, the other big issue on the Clinton administration's plate after NAFTA is, of course, national health care reform. The White House says its plan would cost $331 billion over a period of 5 years. Those costs are supposed to be more than offset by spending cuts and new revenue. Harvard University economics professor Martin Feldstein believes the plan will cost much more unless the government imposes a system of controls and health care rationing. Professor Feldstein is my guest tonight. It is good to have you with us.
Good to be with you, Dave.
Professor, let me start by saying the numbers are all in. We've seen the numbers run out by the task force. They've been gone through with the OMB, the Treasury Department. You don't think those numbers hold up?
I don't think those numbers hold up. I think if that plan were actually enacted the way they've proposed it before the end of the decade, we'd see that spending was running $120 billion a year more than the Clinton administration is predicting.
$120 billion a year?
A year more. Remember, this is an $850 billion industry, healthcare, so $120 billion is not at all surprising as a financing gap.
But as a gap, it's nonetheless startling.
It is a tremendous amount of additional taxes that would be needed to close that gap.
Well, why is it that there is that gap, if you could explain?
Well, they claim, for example, that they will cut Medicare and Medicaid spending by 20%. No administration's been able to cut Medicare and Medicaid spending at all. If they don't get that 20% cut at all, that's $70 billion a year that has to be found someplace else, and that someplace else is likely to be the taxpayers. I think when they do their projections of how much we're all going to spend given the additional insurance that they're talking about providing, that's going to increase the numbers even more. Moreover, the kinds of financing mechanism they have, this payroll tax that they're levying on firms, is going to make people work less, and that's going to take away tax revenue. They're going to have to fill that gap. When you add up all those pieces, you're looking at, I think conservatively, $120 billion a year before the end of the decade as a financing gap that's either going to add to the budget deficit or have to be financed by higher taxes.
With those kinds of discrepancies, gaps, deficits, if you will, how in the world have we come to this point? How could this plan with these numbers that have been gone through by, as I pointed out, many of the departments in the Clinton administration, how could there be this wide variance?
But what they say in those reviews is, assuming that the administration gets the 20% cut in Medicare and Medicaid, assuming that there is no loss of tax revenue as a result of people working less or changing the form of their compensation, then this plan is self-financing. But those assumptions, I think, are just plain wrong.
Well, the Clinton administration, in point of fact, Professor, has gone even further. They've said that initially that the result of this plan over a period of 5 years after its enactment would be a $91 billion improvement in the budget deficit. Then that was revised to 58. What you're saying suggests that those numbers are, to quote Senator Moynihan, fantasy.
Fantasy. That's $58 billion over 5 years. It's $10 billion a year surplus, they think. I think before those 5 years are up, we're going to be seeing $120 billion a year of shortfall that has to be found someplace else.
Well, let me ask you, in terms of the health insurance role, Hillary Rodham Clinton has called the health insurance industry a center of greed, has called them liars, has basically looked for a fight on the issue with anyone who opposes health care reform. What's your judgment as to how what the effect will be of that on the national debate over national health care reform?
I don't know how to interpret how the public is going to respond to Mrs. Clinton's attack on the insurance industry. I think that's sort of beside the point. I think the issue that people have to ask themselves is, do they want to have an additional roughly 20% tax bill in order to finance this? Do they want to go from the current kind of health care arrangements they have to a large group practice, to health maintenance organizations? Because that's the way the financing would drive people under the Clinton plan. Do they want ultimately to have rationing of care imposed by the government?
The reason I ask that question is, when you sit here and talk about these kinds of gaps and variances in what is being offered up by the Clinton administration, there's also a chilling voice concerning that debate. Are you optimistic that Congress is going to proceed and come forward with realistic numbers about what national health care reform really costs the American taxpayer?
There's a lot of skepticism in Congress about these numbers. They're certainly not buying into the numbers that the administration has put forward, and a lot of skepticism about the administration's plans on both sides of the aisle, Democrats as well as Republicans. So I am optimistic that we are just at the beginning of a long process in which the public and the Congress begin to educate themselves about these issues.
And ultimately we lead to at least a point of truth on the matter.
We hope.
Professor, it's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Nice to be here.
Professor Martin Feldstein, thank you. Coming up next here on Moneyline, what tickles Myron Kandel's fancy? Well, we'll have that answer to that very important question for you next. Stay with us.
Every year, the importance of this land increases because every year there are a lot more mouths to feed. Over 95 million more, a figure greater than the population of Mexico. Fortunately, the food ingredients that Archer Daniels Midland makes from America's harvests can help feed people the world over. Food ingredients such as flour, protein, vegetable oils, and corn sweeteners. Making food and feed ingredients to meet our growing nutritional needs. That's why ADM is supermarket to the world.
In the Gulf of Mexico, Phillips Petroleum was one of the first companies to create artificial reefs from its oil rigs. It's something that's attracted hundreds of species of fish while helping to protect the livelihood of a rare breed of man. That's what it means to be a performance company.
A fascinating new book, The Heart of Healing, unlocks the mysteries of how we heal ourselves. Learn how the power of the mind and the strength of the human spirit can relieve pain and cure disease. The Heart of Healing, now in bookstores everywhere.
Introducing the all-new GMC Sonoma. We've packed everything we know into this one, Sonoma of GMC Truck.
When a priest commits the unthinkable,
no child should have to suffer the way I did.
does the Catholic Church do more to protect the father or the faithful? On the next CNN Presents, Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern on CNN.
In the midst of all the solemn news about jobs, trade, interest rates, health care reform, the world of business does provide a few lighter moments as well. Myron Candell is here now to talk about some that have at least tickled his fancy. Myron?
Well, Lou, you can listen to an Elvis Presley compact disc, watch him gyrate in an old movie, affix his stamp on an envelope, even think you've sighted him still alive. But if that isn't enough for you dyed-in-the-wool Elvis lovers, Hasbro, the toy company, wants to sell you 6 different limited edition Elvis Presley dolls. Best of all, they can be twisted into any shape you like. The Elvis dolls will carry a price tag of no less than $50 a piece. But if Elvis isn't for you, how about Vanna White? The world's best-known letter turner on Wheel of Fortune is going into the pizza business as a franchise operator and national spokesperson for Jake's Pizza International. By the way, the company says she'll be paid in stock, not pies. But the biggest sizzle in franchises today wasn't a pizza oven, but as we've heard, a hot stock, Boston chicken. What intrigued me, though, is the fact that Boston chicken isn't based anywhere near the Common, but in Naperville, Illinois, near Chicago. I guess Boston is really a state of mind. Then there's the briefcase contest Midway Airlines is running to promote its new service between New York and Chicago. There are 25 judging categories: smallest, biggest, oldest, most creative, etc. The one that bothers me, though, is the contest for the briefcase that looks the most like its owner. And since my briefcase is always bulging, I know what that says about me, Lou.
And if you didn't know, we could just point you in the direction of that office of yours. Myron, thanks. That's Moneyline for this Tuesday evening. Thanks for being with us. Tomorrow night here on Moneyline, a post-NAFTA debate postmortem. A big NAFTA supporter, my guest, U.S. Senator Bill Bradley, Democrat of New Jersey. Tomorrow night here on Moneyline. Please join us. Good night from New York. Newsnight is next on CNN.
I'm Brian Christie at the CNN Center in Atlanta. Up next on Newsnight, the great debate, Vice President Al Gore and versus Ross Perot on NAFTA. We'll have the sound bites, the reaction, and the results all coming up next right here on Newsnight.
This has been a presentation of CNN Business News.
ESPN's 12th Man contest. Anyone can win, but not everyone wants to.
There will be a local winner from the Garden State Cable viewing area. So register to win at Fuddruckers, White Horse Road, Voorhees.
Announcing ESPN's 12th Man contest. It's simple. You and one of your best friends will attend an NFL weekend and pregame party. You'll win tickets to an ESPN Sunday night NFL game. And you'll get closer to the action. ESPN's 12th Man contest. Anyone can win, but not everyone wants to.
There will be a local winner from the Garden State Cable viewing area. So register to win at D. Simone Cadillac, Route 70, Pennsauken.
Dial Columbia Savings Bank for a home equity loan. Count on no points, no closing costs, competitive rates, and fast loan approvals.
Now you can count on Cinemax to bring home a different kind of movie every night in primetime. Monday comedy means time out for laughs. Tuesday suspense brings you thrillers. Wednesday Vanguard, films on the cutting edge. Thursday drama brings the stars home. Friday premieres bring you exclusive openings. And